Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday, and it may probably mostly afternoon wherever you are. So, today I wanted to speak to how a 3 pound organ that we all have, if you're living and breathing, and how it can literally change our lives. And what am I talking about? Some of you may actually have already guessed. So, there's this organ called the brain that sits between your ears that literally just weighs 3 pounds. It uses 20% of our glucose every day, and it literally can be the change maker in your life. And the reason I'm saying this is, again, I want to speak to something that I've really found over the years, one, speaking to patients who've been successful in changing their lifestyle and regaining health and just doing amazing things through interviews that I've had on my podcast. You can check that out at Dr. Lori Marber's podcast. And I have 7 years of interviews. Really fun to do. It's a kind of almost a selfish endeavor because I get to meet so many amazing people. So, but really I wanted to reflect on how changing your thoughts can change your life. And I think that, some people take that as, oh, that's simple. It's just, being positive, yada, yada. It doesn't, well, when life gets really hard, you can't, just deal with it. Sometimes you're just the victim. No, actually, I'm going to disagree. And some of you may disagree with me, and that's okay too. We're all in here in this life and our journey to have our own thoughts and feelings and beliefs. But I will say how it's changed my own life, and this has literally radically changed others. So, first of all, when we think about our thoughts, many of us think that that's like the reality, right? That this reality of whatever we're thinking, the words or the discussion that we're having with ourselves is finite. That's the truth. It's the absolute. Whatever we're feeling must be the way it is. But I would argue that it isn't. So if I, for example, am sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, I'm a pink elephant. I'm a pink elephant. I am a pink elephant. Guess what? I am not a pink elephant. I am a human being. And I know it's a silly way of explaining this, but I just really wanted to speak to understands that thoughts can build a negative reality or they can build a positive reality, because our reality really is our perception, right? So you've probably heard the term that you change how you see things and things will change. 100%. It's kind of like, again, the old saying, the glass is either half empty or half full. And there's so much power in those statements. It seems so simple yet profound. But just understand that if we start thinking about things a little bit differently, instead of the failure as a setback or a disappointment, maybe we look at the failure as data and something to learn from. If we look at a challenge in life or a loss, instead of looking at it as where we failed and we're no good and, thinking poorly upon ourselves or others or judging the circumstances, why don't we step back and say, invite the discomfort and the struggle as an opportunity to learn and grow, right? So if you see the failure as a growth opportunity, then you almost welcome it, right? Because that means that you're going to be able to get to your next destination a little bit faster. And one of the things I always told my kids was, there's two things you can do. You can either go about life and continue making your own mistakes and learn for yourself, or you can learn from others by reading books or discussions or just watching others and take that and learn your own lessons from their experience. And so I just want to lay that out there for you to just start thinking, to understand that our thoughts are not only shaping our reality in that way, but they're also shaping our habits. And our habits really influence our lives because these are the things that we put on autopilot, right? So for me, before 12 years ago, before going plant-based, automatic pilot was I cooked, animal products. I mean, we ate pretty healthy, a healthier standard American diet. But now, I changed my thoughts about food. I changed my belief system. I have re-identified, right? But it all started with a thought, right? It started with an experience and a thought and a question and curiosity of like, why was this able to happen? What was going on here? And now it's a habit to only eat plant-based foods. I go into a restaurant, I look at the menu and I look what can I eat? I'm traveling, I'm planning ahead, what can I eat? I'm thinking for dinner or lunch or breakfast or whatever. It is now my default mechanism, but it all started with a thought. Okay. And to understand how we can do this is really neuroplasticity, right? So the brain can change and adapt. And I don't care how old you are. My oldest patient that went plant-based was 89. And, of course, the youngest I've known is a young mother who was carrying a baby and was plant-based already. So literally it can span a lifetime of when you can make changes. And for myself, I'm finding inspiration in seeing middle-aged and older women taking up resistance training and being the strongest that they've ever been. I mean, these are incredible humans. It's just so fun to watch and to identify with them and use them as my own motivation and change my own thoughts about what I could be possible for myself. And so if you're struggling to see the possibilities in your own life, think about others or read about others that inspire you, then you can think about, okay, how can I do this? And when you start thinking about it, when you start looking at ways to develop whatever the skill or conquer a goal, when you start thinking about it, your brain is incredible. It will go, okay, that is our new focus. So it's kind of like if you were out looking for a new car, right? And you're looking to say, let's buy a Buick. I'm a Buick fan. I'm an old lady, like they call it my old lady buggy, or it's actually this boat. We were looking for Buicks and reading about them in the different cars. Everyone suddenly had a Buick. I don't think they had a sell on Buicks, but my brain was already thinking about it. So it was looking for those things that I was already thinking about, right? So if you are, like, for example, if I am inspired by someone who is, doing pull-ups and they're in their 50s, my brain is going to be thinking about, okay, how can I do this, right? So I will instantly be attracted to those Instagram. Granted, there is an algorithm at play here, but this is kind of how it works. I will watch those videos, right? Because my brain desires to be inspired and see these incredible humans doing incredible things at a different age than what would be expected. Anyway, we have neuroplasticity. It's not just when we're little and children and young adults. Our brains can continue to learn. You can teach a wiser, more experienced person a new trick, so to speak. So think about that. And I think the other thing here is really understanding that we have limiting beliefs. So what are limiting beliefs? So they're basically negative thought patterns that hold us back, right? So let's say that when I was a kid, I grew up in a home where it was a difficult situation, and education was not expanded. Let's just say that education was not their highest priority, and instead, it was just survival, right? Getting money to pay the rent, money to pay the mortgage, money to put food on the table. So, my parents, I'm sure they did the best they could, but if I had limiting beliefs, thinking, well, I'm just meant to be someone who grew up in a poor home. I'm going to continue to be that way. I'm not smart. My parents were teenagers when they had me. If I continue to have that belief, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have changed my own trajectory in my own life. But I will say that, I had adults in my life that spoke into my life and spoke that I could have a different life. And so you can also be that person, but you can also bring people into your life to help you change, see differently. But these limiting beliefs are so, so powerful because we hold ourselves in our past, or maybe we think ourselves as victims, and then we think that we're continued, we are the victim. If we identify with this story, well, your brain's going to keep working to make sure you do. So if you feel like you can't achieve something, well, you're not, right? You have to believe that you can, or at least start the belief system that you can. Or if you still struggle, and we all struggle, right? We all feel like we all fall short and aren't always the best that we can be. But if every single day you're working towards that goal, you're going to find that you build confidence, and those limiting beliefs will change. But you have to start with different thoughts. You have to think differently if you want a different outcome. So if you think that you can't run a marathon, then you won't. If you think you can't walk around the block, you won't. If you think you can't eat a whole food plant-based diet, you won't. You say like, oh, I want to, but I can't. Well, you've already lost, right? But if you say, I want to and I will try, I would still even push you further and say, I want to and I will, right? So we have to change the limiting beliefs that we have. And you just have to reframe some thoughts. And one of my favorite books, I did actually interview the author, is Dr. Shad Helmstetter. And it's basically what to say when you talk to yourself. And I started using some of his strategies, and he has an app where basically speaking positive terms. And so let's say it's around weight loss, or if you want to exercise, or changing your limiting beliefs about money, or whatever it might be, relationships. And speaking thoughts, or he's saying thoughts, or saying statements, that when you start hearing it and start thinking about it, guess what? Your brain is starting to incorporate that. You're starting to relay new tracks. Your habits will change. Your thinking will change. So check that out too if you haven't. But that is the beginning, is changing our limiting beliefs. And I promise you, if you start thinking and set aside time away from the busyness, away from the craziness of life, set some time away where you're just hanging out and being bored. Honestly, let your brain think about things. Let your brain think about the future, about where your life is now and where you want to be. We're so busy these days and so exhausted by the end of the day. We're just numbing ourselves in front of screens, be it this little screen now on social media or TV or whatever. But just give yourself an opportunity to just kind of reevaluate where you want to be in your life. And it's never too late, never. But anyway, changing your limiting beliefs. And then one of my favorite things is talking about is cultivating a growth mindset. And I know some of you may have read that Dr. Carol Dweck's work, incredible. So how do you even do this, right? I think when I read that book, I thought it was such an amazing book. And one story that struck me the most, was they were doing these studies, right? So with fourth graders, and there were two groups. There was a control group and a cohort where they did an intervention. And the control group, they were taught some study skills and given, the basics on how to do homework and study and, show up to class on time and, just the basic stuff that all kids should get. The intervention group got the same thing. They were taught how to study. They were taught how, all the things that the control group would be. I don't remember the exact specifics, so forgive me on what the basic instructions were. But the other group, the intervention group, was how to have a growth mindset. And Carol Dweck mentioned in her book that a fourth grader came up to them as they were explaining this and speaking about having a change in their limiting beliefs or growing in their mind and, expanding the mind and the possibilities. A fourth grader came up to them and said, "You mean I don't have to be stupid anymore?" And I didn't even know this child, and it brought tears to my eyes just to think that a child goes through life thinking that they've been called stupid, or they think they are stupid and that they will be stupid for the rest of life. Intelligence is not fixed, folks. Intelligence can grow, right? And sure, there may be opportunities, there may be some struggles, some learning disabilities, there might be some hindrances, but if you have the opportunity to help someone grow in any way, or even just speak life to them, understand that you could literally change a child's life. And you don't know, that kid might turn into the next president of the United States or a brain surgeon, who knows? But just know that the growth mindset in our roles also with our kids, with our neighbors, with our colleagues, with our siblings, our parent, anybody, we can be that model by showing and speaking life to them. Sitting back before you respond, if you're angry or something, just holding back and saying, how can I actually make this a more positive experience for someone? But anyway, the growth mindset piece is really cool. And just really important to understand the difference between the fixed and growth mindset. And we all have fixed and growth mindsets. And it doesn't mean that we're always in a growth mindset. You may be fixed one moment and growth the next on different things. But basically, fixed mindset means that you believe your abilities, like, for example, or intelligence, are fixed traits, that it's genetic. It's absolutely not. In contrast, the growth mindset is the belief that abilities of intelligence can be developed with effort, learning, and perseverance. And how do you do that? Well, you embrace challenges, right? It's the challenge of going to plant-based diet. It's the challenge of doing a pull-up after you're 52. Like I'll be 53 at the end of the month. It's the challenge of running a 5K for the first time. It's a challenge of learning a new skill, playing the piano, taking singing lessons, learning art, some creative endeavor. Those are the things you can do. Learning to cook if you've never cooked before. You know, you don't want to shy away from the difficult tasks, because the difficult tasks are what is going to allow you to grow. And once you start developing skill set and you become more confident, it gets more and more fun, right? So go in it with enthusiasm. Think of something that might be enjoyable that you'd like to learn, and just start. Just start. And that effort, like I said, is literally your pathway to mastery. But you have to embrace. I can call it the embrace the suck. So it's a little bit of my military background there. And like I said before, let's learn from your setbacks. You know, celebrate your growth. Always looking to great, you know, learn more learning opportunities, you know, staying persistent. And just as you are going through all these things and you're listening to your own chatter, think of that, think about and reflect and go, is what I'm saying to myself actually changing? And I will say again, Dr. Shad Helmstedter's book, my chatter did change. And I feel like I have a pretty positive mental chatter, but it can be negative sometimes. But that actually changed, and it gave me energy. You know, I wake up with, you know, energy to tackle the day and start a whole new adventure. Since we, you know, shut down Mora, and which was my company, my second company this summer. Anyway, but you know, just set goals, continue to make progress, celebrate those progress. You just want to continue to try to work and grow that growth mindset. And I think one other thing that's really important here is just that understanding goal setting needs to be aligned with your values, and make your goals part of the journey, right? So if you think about, let's say that one of my values is my family, right? And for me, time with my family means that I want to, every single day that I'm on this earth, I want to be able to do anything and everything I want to do with them. That includes hiking, running, scuba diving, snorkeling. I don't care what it is. If I get to have some experience with them, I am overly joyed, right? So part of that means that as I get older, wiser, that I need to appreciate and value health. So for me, independence, strength, understanding that I've done everything I can to maintain my health means that I'm going to allow myself time with my family. So every goal that I have is aligned with that value. So I think of values are a compass, right? So they point in one direction. You never get to the end of the value. I never get to the end of my value of family, right? It's just everything that I decide, my goals, my decisions, are they aligning with my values and my belief systems? So my goal of doing more resistance training or running or doing pull-up, think as simple as that. People just think, oh, it's just the goal of doing a pull-up. Actually, no. I'm thinking someday when I get a grandkid, whenever that might be, I'm going to be able to get down on the floor and play with them, or I'm going to be able to run up the stairs and play with them. I'm thinking of the future of as I get older and my children get older. You know, I want everyone to be healthy together, and that we're not in a hospital room with someone being sick because I chose different, you know, had different choices in my life where I fell and broke a hip, or I tripped over something, or I'm taking multiple meds and had diabetes. And again, none of this, I don't want to be, I'm saying I'm doing this is just my own life. This is how I have to view it in order to make those goals and conquer those goals. So, yeah, so take that. And I think for me, I also have daily affirmations, and it's not like really specific daily affirmations, but at the end of the day, my affirmation is that I'm doing everything I can to live the values of service to others and bringing love and light into the world. And one thing that I've started more recently was I have this jar over here, and I put it on their abundance jar. And whenever I find coins on the ground, pennies, dime, we found a quarter and a penny recently this week, I put it in that jar, and I was like, this is the world God universe, whatever you want to call it, giving me abundance. And so every time I see that, I see that abundance jar. It's in my kitchen because I'm literally down here all the time. And I'm just saying thankful, right? So that for me, that daily affirmation is really a thank you and gratitude. And then visualizing that I will be open to more abundance and then allowing that abundance to flow through me to others as well, right? So, because it's not mine to keep, I will leave this world without anything other than the energy that came to make me to come to be. But the abundance jar has been my gratitude jar as well. So I say thank you for my penny, thank you for the quarter, and thank you for many other blessings in my life, including the challenges. And so, just to kind of wrap this up, but I really want you to know that you can overcome challenges if you change your thoughts, you change your life, you change your way you're viewing a struggle, right? If it's weight loss, if it's chronic disease, if it's a relationship, if it's financial troubles, if you look at them and examine past actions and the thoughts that maybe got you into the situation, think about it and be creative and go, how can I change my thoughts about this situation? Maybe it's okay, I'm in debt and I need to change my thoughts on how I'm always in debt because what's going on there? Is it I'm struggling to find a job that would allow me to pay off the debt? Is it I have a spending issue? Am I living outside of my means, so to speak, right now? Because I will tell you, there's so much stress going on around the financial world, which creates more stress in your life. But I will say that was one thing that I really struggled with was my money beliefs, right? Because growing up like I did, was not a good and easy, simple thing to overcome, to understand that money will come, but I also will be generous. And, but at the end of the day, I think, just using the debt situation, maybe there's like a skill set, a side hustle or something you can do. Maybe it's a matter of cutting up the credit cards so they're not so easy to use, or getting rid of the Amazon app so it's not so easy to like click on it. But again, I think there's people and resources that provide support. So let's say that it's struggling with overeating, with stress. Maybe it's a matter of getting, a support group of, people like, for example, on your plant-based journey, we have our amazing free Facebook group, and Lori Marbus, just a free Facebook group. There's like, I think almost 1,000 people in there now. And really helping each other, just asking questions, listening to podcasts of other people who overcome whatever the challenges that you're seeking to overcome. Because it's like I said, if you start seeking answers, they will come. That's just the way this works. People talk about manifesting, but honestly, I do believe it's just you start putting your attention towards something and your brain will find the answers. And, it's kind of like the master will appear when the student's ready. 100%. And that master might show up as your next door neighbor. It might show up as your child. It might show up as your sister. It might show up as a doctor on a social media post. So, lots of ways to look at this, and I feel like I'm a bit rambling there, but I just want you to know at the end of the day, your thoughts can change your reality. And it all starts with this 3-pound organ between your ears. And I hope that's helpful. I have thought a lot about this, and I think it's simple but profound. And I hope you will take this as an opportunity to just sit back and think about your own thoughts and know they need to be kind to yourself and generous and loving and gracious. And you are here for a reason and you have a purpose. And yeah, we're all here. And my belief is that we're all extensions of God, every soul, everything here. And look for your purpose. Know that you are important and special and you're here to change lives, including your own. And I know that's hard sometimes when you're really struggling, but you can do it. And I believe in you. So, all right, guys, I hope that's helpful. A bit more rambling on a Saturday. I will try to be back tomorrow. But yeah, go out there, you guys can do it. Have a wonderfully blessed day, and I will see you tomorrow. Yeah, have a good one.